push record. All right, so number 16 of the practical says established 50-year-old patient with end-stage renal disease currently receiving dialysis is seen for acute left upper quadrant pain. There's Miss Sue. Hi, Miss Sue. We're doing the practical on page 11, the workbook.
Okay.
Okay, so what is our first listed diagnosis?
I put renal disease, but I think it's pain.
Well, it's acute left upper quadrant pain.
Okay.
So how do we begin to look for that? I mapped it out so that we can kind of go through those things little by little with each other. I went to pain, then I went to upper, and then I went to left quadrant.
No, I ain't. See, that's where I got stumped on number 16.
Okay, well now we're doing it together. So let's just go to our index, and I'm gonna just go, even though I've worked it and mapped it, just because I want to look at it again. So I went to pain as my and I'm gonna turn this way because that way I don't have to keep going back and forth with y'all because I'm working with y'all. See?
Okay, pain in our index, right?
Yes, ma'am. Let's go to pain in our index. Okay, and if you look on page 366, if you've got the 2019, it's on page 366. Miss Lisa, I'm sorry, I can't do two ICD-10s. I know you have the 2020. I can't do two of them. I can't keep up that way. But if you go under pain, then you'll see like abdominal, severe with abdominal, tenderness, and right under tenderness, you're going to see upper.
Under what you said?
Do you see pain, abdominal,
yes,
and
ma'am.
Rebound, and then you see tenderness, and right under tenderness, it says upper. You see it?
Oh, okay, I see it now.
And then you see right quadrant.
Right.
And left quadrant. What are we looking for? We're looking for left quadrant, right?
Right.
So that's R10.12. So that's how I found that. Now, would we stop there? For the sake of time, we're not going to look all of these up in the tabular. I've already looked them up in the tabular. I'm going to let y'all do that later. But that is the correct code. It's R10.12. So what I did is I went to pain, I went to upper, and then I went to left quadrant, and that brought me to R10.12. Okay, so we have another diagnosis in there. Miss Lisa, you said it a while ago. You said renal disease, but it's just not any renal disease. It's end-stage renal disease. That's where we talk about the highest level of specificity. That's our highest level. That's end stage. It's not just regular renal. It's the end stage. So that makes it end stage. It makes it the most serious, correct? So the most serious diagnoses get more money. So we need to make sure that if we have end stage, we use the ICD-10 code for end stage because it means more money. It's the highest level of specificity is what they call that.
Okay.
So does anybody know what end-stage renal disease ICD-10 code is?
N18.9.
I'm sorry?
N18.9.
You have N18.9? That's not what I have. So I'm going to look at what, it's close, but I have one that's a little different. Let me see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but when we're mapping this and we're looking up renal disease, right?
Well, you're looking up, you go to disease.
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 Oh, disease. D-I.
Okay, so Miss Sue, can you mute us, sweetheart? Thank you. Okay, so Becca, you had N 18.9, but
Yes.
N 18.9 is chronic kidney disease. N 18.6 is end-stage renal disease. When you go to the tabular and you look at that, so it is
Yeah.
in 18.6. Okay, so Miss Lisa, the way that I looked up end-stage renal disease is I went to disease. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna show y'all something.
Okay.
You see this little blue tab right here? It
Uh-huh.
says disease. So when the million times that you have to look up disease, I know right where mine's at. So I just wanted to show y'all that. So I went to disease.
And that's on page 189, right?
Mine starts on 198, but ours is a little different.
Oh, that's what I meant, 198.
Okay.
I'm dyslexic, so.
Okay, you're good. And then you just go to END, E-E-N-D, stage renal disease, ESRD, and it's in 18.6. Guys, put that down somewhere. You're gonna look it up a million times if you don't.
Okay.
End-stage renal disease, 18.6.
All right.
Okay, so we're good there?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one more thing there that we're looking at. He's receiving dialysis, correct?
Right.
Okay, it's very important for the insurance company to know that he's receiving dialysis. So we have to put that in our ICD-10 codes. So he's 50 years old with end-stage renal disease. We've got that covered. He's currently receiving dialysis. We've got that covered, but he's actually being seen for the quadrant pain. That's why that comes first, because that's what he's actually being seen for. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how do we look up dialysis?
I would think go under D and look up dialysis, huh?
She's being...
I know, I'm sorry. I'm just.
No, I think you're funny. I think that's great. I meant for it to be funny. So we've got dialysis, you said, D-I-A-L. Dialysis, right? And I found mine on 196.
196, that's where I'm at. I still can't see it, but I'll find it.
It's in the last column. You're going to see,
I see it, baby.
Okay. Dialysis, status, Z99.2.
Okay.
Because it's renal dialysis. If you look at what it's saying dialysis, then it says non-compliance. It didn't say anything about the patient not being compliant, so we don't need that. Then you have renal hemodialysis, peritoneal status, Z99.2. That's the code that we're looking for. And then Z99.2. And then you look at the one below it, it says retina and retinal. That's not even where we're going. So it is actually Z99.2.
Okay.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, I'm not saying is it clear as a stream. It might just be clear as muddy water right now, but you know, we're getting there. We're taking the steps to learn, right? Okay, so let's look at number 17. Established patient with complaints of shortness of breath. Upon examination, the physician determined she needed more aggressive treatment for her current congestive heart failure. What is our first listed diagnosis?
Shortness of breath.
That's what I got, shortness of breath.
It's not. Why does she have shortness of breath?
Due to his congestive heart failure.
Congestive heart failure. Okay. That's not a bad guess, guys. It's not a bad guess, but you have to, you know, when you get used to reading these, they're going to start becoming easier and easier. So we have to look for congestive heart failure. So what word do you think you would look for?
Congestive, huh?
I went to failure.
Oh.
Because failure is the verb to me. And so for some reason, my mind always goes to the verb. And so I just happened to guess right this time. No. I just remember, and I also know the ICD-10 code for congestive heart failure because I was a cardiology coder, but I really did look it up.
All right, let's see. All right, I found failures.
Okay, do you see congestive? It's on 243 in the middle column.
Okay, I got 150.9. No. Yeah. Okay.
Does everybody
I'm
agree
stuck.
with 150.9?
Or I5. Is that
Oh,
an
I said
I or a
one.
1?
It's an I. Shoot.
Okay.
I50.9. Listen, sometimes I feel like I'm saying bingo. B20. It sounds like we're playing bingo. So yes, it is I. I'm sorry. I50.9. I have that highlighted in my ICD-10 in my index because you use it a lot. I also find that sometimes my most used codes, I'll just put them at the top of my page because I know they're written up there. And so I just go over and say, oh yeah, it's like making a cheat sheet within your ICD-10. So you don't have to go through so much trouble. You can either even make you a little notebook with some of these codes that you're going to be using over and over and over again. So I50.9 is correct. Congestive heart failure, CHF. If you don't see congestive heart failure and you see CHF, that's what it stands for. Congestive heart failure. Okay, number 18. A patient is seen for unstable angina. He has a history of arteriosclerotic coronary artery disease. Okay, I have to tell you guys that this took me a little time because I kept overlooking it. So you have to go to arteriosclerotic. I can't even say it right. Arteriosclerotic. Once you get there.
Okay, so coronary artery disease is what I put.
Well, it is coronary artery disease. Coronary artery disease on its own is I2510, but it's not just plain coronary artery disease. It's actually the arteriosclerotic one.
All right.
But, okay, hang on just a second. I'm on a Zoom call. Sorry. Sorry about that. Okay, so I knew that coronary artery disease was I2510. So I actually went there to I2510 in my tabular and then I read. Does that make any sense? Sometimes you're not going to be able to find exactly the code that you need. You're going to have to find the section that you need, and you're going to have to read. So I went to CAD is what they call it, CAD, coronary artery disease. It's actually I2510.
Where's Mr. Fuzzyfan?
And then I just read down. If you look at I2510, it says arteriosclerotic heart disease of the native coronary artery without angina pectoris. Is that accurate? It's not because it says without, and this says that we have unstable angina, right? So we can't use that one. So if you go down to I2511, it says with angina pectoris, but there's a stop sign beside that one, right? So you just go down a little bit more and you're going to see I25.110.
So I'm looking up this long word, this arterial. That's where I'm going.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It actually starts on page 113. And then if you go under, it says arteriosclerosis or arteriosclerotic, then you go
Right.
down to coronary artery, and it says I-2510. That's where I started. I knew that wasn't all that I needed. I knew that I needed to be more specific. So instead of going through all of these different codes, I just started with I-2510 because that's my preference. Because I knew that code was going to be right there with it, just because I knew it. So that's why I started with I-2510, but you can go down and look to see if you see I-25, and I don't even see it. So. Do y'all understand why I chose to go ahead and go to I-2510 once you start reading all of that?
To go check out what the coding is for the specifics, right?
Yeah. Oh, I can't, hang on. When you start reading all of that stuff under coronary artery, it gets jumbled to me. So I chose to start with the coronary artery, I-2510, because I knew I was more comfortable with reading, and I knew it was going to be right in that area, because we have CAD, but we have CAD with angina. So does that make any sense?
No.
Okay, so in the scenario, it says we have coronary artery disease, right?
Right.
So arteriosclerotic coronary artery disease is I-2510. So that is our arteriosclerotic coronary artery disease. But we have to add in our angina because it says our patient is being seen for unstable angina.
That would be 125,720.
No. It's I-25.110.
110.
Yes.
Let's see if I can find that.
So if the patient just had the coronary artery disease, it would be I-2510.
Right.
But he has a
Without-
little, yeah, that's your basic thing. But he doesn't just have that, he has angina too. So we need to add a little bit more specificity, but our basic code is I-2510. So we could start with the C8, the coronary artery disease, and we know that we have angina, so we know we're gonna have to add specificity to it. But coronary artery disease is our basic code. We're just adding up to the specificity. Is that making any sense? I know Sydney's shaking her head. Yes, she understands that.
No, I don't, but
Okay.
I will.
Yeah, you will. Okay, Miss Lisa, just look at, don't, on number 18, take away the unstable angina. Don't even look at that part. The patient has coronary artery disease, right? So if you were
Right.
just going to code the arteriosclerotic coronary artery disease, it would be that I-2510 that we're looking at. That's the basic code.
Okay. But he has angina, so therefore it makes it I-25.11.
0.
Zero.
Yeah. That,
Gotcha.
it just levels it up. It's sort of like when you play Mario Brothers and you keep getting the mushrooms and it keeps leveling you up. Oh, Miss
Yeah.
Lou's got the baby. Okay, don't distract me with babies. She's so pretty. No, turn it back on. I didn't mean it like that. She's so pretty. Anyway, so it's almost like the higher up you go in your numbers, the more specific you get and the more money you get. What I'm trying to say in that scenario, coronary artery disease is a great code because he has it, right? But you're
Right.
adding like some icing on the cake because you're adding that angina to it.
Okay.
And I knew that the angina was going to be right underneath that coronary artery disease because that's one of the things that can go along with it.
Okay.
Okay, she's still not quite got it, but she's not going to say that, but she's going to get there. All right, let's move to number 19. Did you guys write I-25.110?
I did. I got it.
Okay, well, I've got about 10 more minutes, so we can probably do a couple of more. Our time goes by so fast. Okay, so the next one is patient is seen for a follow-up for hypertension. He has end-stage renal disease. Okay, this gets a little bit hairy because what do you think your first listed diagnosis is going to be?
It probably should be hypertension, but I put end-stage renal disease.
Okay, well, it's hypertension with end-stage renal disease. Because
Okay.
they can go hand in hand. How would you know that? Well, you automatically wouldn't know that. That's why we're learning. It's one of the things we have to keep in mind. And as we go through our ICD-10, right now we're just dipping our toe in. We're going to go through these things chapter by chapter. So we're going to get to know the codes better. We're just kind of getting kind of the roundabout way to do it, okay? So give yourself a break. And don't worry, we're going to go through each separate chapter with each of the rules, and all of these things are going to start clicking after a while. We're just dipping our toe in the water right now. So it's going to be hypertension with end-stage renal disease. So remember, when we have disease, where do we go?
To disease in your index.
To disease. So we're going to go to disease. I have my label so I can get there fast. Once you get to disease, I want you to go to end-stage renal again. And then look right under what it says. When it says end-stage renal, I want you just to look right below it, and what does it say? It says due to, excuse me, it says due to hypertension, right?
Okay. Is that 11023? I mean 10.23.
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm
Okay,
wrong.
I went to end-stage renal disease, and right underneath it, it says due to hypertension, and it says I-12.0. Miss Lisa, you were really, really close.
Yeah. Thanks.
I'm going to tell you, if I were a coder and they gave me this as a medical record, I would not use I-12.0 because they didn't write due to. But this is what our scenarios are looking for. So hypertension, end-stage renal disease due to hypertension is I-12.0. Do y'all see that in your index?
I-12.0.
Yeah. Okay. What is our other diagnosis?
End-stage
The renal disease, end stage.
End-stage renal disease. Do we need to look that up, or do we already know what that is?
We should know what that is
Because
already.
it's right up above.
N818.6.
Sid, you're right. You just got to stick you an N on there. That's right. So that was fast because we already knew what end-stage renal disease was, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. We do not have time to get through any more. Would you like to meet back tomorrow at 10 o'clock and do some more of these?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. You can go ahead and work on them and map them out. See, y'all, look how I map my stuff. See how I map it out? I know how I get there. Because if we know how we get there, we can remember what we did.
Okay.
So I just suggest you do it. Also, I want to know how many of you have labeled your ICD-10 book?
I got it partially, but the bubbling I'm having a hard time with.
Okay. Well, Miss Lisa, I'm not sure we'll get to that tomorrow, but we can always schedule a Zoom call the next day and just do bubble and highlighting, okay? More
Okay.
than willing to do that. Absolutely. Also, the YouTube videos help. And if anybody's got a good handle on bubble and highlighting and you want to call Miss Lisa, call her, or vice versa. You guys
Please.
help each other out.
I appreciate it.
Okay. So, all right. So tomorrow at 10, we're going to get back together again.
Yeah.
Good deal. I'm in.
Okay. Did this help y'all understand?
Somewhat. I got a little better of it.
Right. Well, we were only able to get through, what, 4 of them? 1, 2, 3, 4. Tomorrow we'll get a little bit faster at it, especially if you go into it. I'm going to tell you something. I want you to understand right now. If you get the wrong answer, please don't be upset. The way we learn is by getting it wrong. I get it wrong sometimes too, and I want to argue with the answer key, and sometimes I'm right and it's wrong. If you think you have the right code, tell me, Miss Marcia, I think this is right because you know, we're going to get that comfortable in our coding, but we have to start somewhere, right?
That's
Do
right.
not be, I want you to try. Getting it right or wrong right now isn't the biggest thing. It's just trying. Just trying.
What was the first code for hypertension?
The hypertension one? Hypertension due to, or end-stage renal disease due to hypertension is I12.0.
Okay, I don't know how you got that, but all right. Okay.
Well, I got it by going to disease.
I got hypertension, I got due to.
Well, I went to disease, then I went to end-stage renal disease, and then underneath that it said due to hypertension.
Okay. So that's
I
the
did-
first one we looked
Yeah,
at.
I didn't love this scenario, Miss Sue, because it didn't use the words due to. To
Right.
me, as a coder, it would have to say due to before I would code it due to. But I'm trying to go along with the way that they're doing it here.
Okay. All right.
So you guys, I mean, if you just work on number 20 through 24, we'll get through those tomorrow. So
Okay.
I know that I have it supposed to be doing all of that, but since we're working on it, I don't mind going slowly to work on it. To me, understanding is the most important thing. We're not in a race, and I would love to get back together and code with you tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely, because I sure need it. My problem is I'm having a hard time distinguishing what the first diagnosis should be.
Right. And you know what? How you're going to learn that? Practice, practice, practice. It's just as we
Okay.
go. We're just starting. It's brand new. It's just practice, practice, practice. So, all right,
Okay.
guys, I'm running out of time. If you need anything, call me. I'm so glad to see your faces. I miss y'all. I wish
Miss
you could just do a
too.
coding pile up, but we can't do that right now. We got to stay safe. But you guys know, all you have to do is call me if you need me, okay?
Awesome.
Talk to you later, ladies. Love ya.